There was a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We'll break that down. Also, we have some updates on Iran and a shocking kidnapping of a child for gender reassignment surgery. All that and more right now. Welcome back to the Republic Brothers podcast. He's Matt, I'm Mike. Today's April 26, 2026, and this is episode 52. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode on Thursday. Big news to start off with today. Yesterday, April 25th, a shooting occurred during the White House Correspondents Association dinner at the Washington Hilton. The incident led to the immediate evacuation of President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance. At approximately 8:36, a gunman attempted to force his way through a security screening area near the main ballroom at the Washington Hilton. The suspect ran past a security checkpoint and fired between 5 and 8 shots. CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer was apparently nearby and reported being just a few feet away when the shots were fired. Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, escorted the president and vice president to safety. Hundreds of attendees, including cabinet members and journalists, took cover under tables as the ballroom was locked down.
The suspect's name is Cole Allen, 31 years old. He's from Torrance, California, Southern California. We know that the FBI going through his apartment right now. We're told that he may have been a guest at the hotel. That's been reported as well. Working to get a little bit more details there. But that is a picture that you see on the screen next to me of Cole Allen, per two senior law enforcement sources briefed on this matter. They're going, as I said, through the apartment, through cell phones, to see who he may have spoken to see if anybody was aware of this. So he's 31 from Southern California. Still so many questions, though, that we are waiting for this hour as we are approaching the midnight hour. You heard the U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announce some of the charges. She said more charges will be filed in federal court.
He was reportedly armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. Law enforcement officials stated that Allen left behind a manifesto and had posted anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric on social media. He reportedly admitted to investigators that he was specifically targeting members of the Trump administration. One law enforcement officer was struck by a round but was saved by his bulletproof vest. No other attendees were reported to have any serious injuries. Allen was tackled by law enforcement and taken into custody at the scene. He is expected to be arraigned on Monday on charges including assault on a federal officer and using a firearm during a crime of violence. How he wasn't charged with attempted murder is beyond me. He admitted that he was targeting specific people and had weapons. Just because he got stopped right before he had the chance to do it doesn't mean that he wasn't attempting to do it. Although there was an initial attempt to resume the dinner, the event was ultimately canceled and will be rescheduled. President Trump later held a press conference at the White House praising the Secret Service for their quick response. Here was Attorney General Todd Blanche's response.
Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the president just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was injured.
The very best and the very worst is a good way of summing this up. But you are right. How they don't have enough evidence to charge him with attempted murder is crazy. A confession is more than enough to move a jury, and he makes it sound like there were many targets. I would guess he did not think he would be alive at the end of it, because going into a gunfight where you are heavily outnumbered is not a great idea. You can't think you're going to walk away from that. The fact that they were able to capture him without shooting him is quite impressive by the Secret Service.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was wondering is, how did this guy walk into this and then walk out of it alive? The fact that he was targeting all these high-ranking people and tried to go through a security checkpoint and was armed like that and fired shots. I can't believe they didn't kill him. Now, Peter Doocy asked President Trump why this keeps happening to him. I'm surprised that he didn't give the mental health response that you and I always point back to. Anyone willing to do something this crazy is clearly not all there in the head.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names here, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughingstock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
That was a quite kind and diplomatic answer from Trump, which he doesn't normally do. It is mental health, but you also have the left comparing Trump and everyone around him to Hitler and Stalin and every other terrible dictator. The left has spent so much time comparing Trump to terrible people that the crazy people in the Democrat Party have got it in their mind that it would be a good thing to kill the president. If you knew what Hitler was and what he had done, killing him would be seen as a good thing. Trump is no Hitler, simple as that. But by saying he was, the left pushed people to think this was a good idea. That is why this keeps happening. It was nice of the ladies from The View to say we need to turn the temperature down in politics, but they are some of the many who repeatedly turned that temperature up. How many videos are there where Democrats say to fight Trump? I found a lot of them, so let's play a little piece of that.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
Okay. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
That was 1 minute of one of a million videos where Democrats say that. That was some of your favorite politicians and actors saying to fight Trump. You even had Johnny Depp in that clip openly say it might be time for him to assassinate the president. I wonder how we got here.
Yeah, that video is 11 minutes long, and we cut it down to 60 seconds.
And there's about 80 more videos that I could have pulled. They are not hard to find. There's so many of them, you can stumble into them.
Yeah, that whole summary of the video that's 11 minutes long, I'm sure there's a few missing from that whole video. Talking to them sometimes, it's like arguing with a brick wall. Trump has said in his press conference that they are going to reschedule. And I think that's a strong message. You cannot run and hide.
We're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay. But it was protocol. They said, please, sir, because they didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly.
It's a bit like the Turning Point USA when Charlie Kirk was killed. If you don't continue pushing your message, the shooter wins. They silenced you if you don't keep trying. If Trump hides away and stops talking, Trump can't get his message out. That is what these people wanted, albeit in a different way.
It's crazy to think, too, this is now, the third attempt on Trump?
Third publicly known from within the U.S. We also know Iran has tried a couple times as well.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand, to be honest.
Being the president is a dangerous job, but it shouldn't be this dangerous from your own population.
No.
We need people to get back to the days where they focus on themselves. As Dave Ramsey says, what happens in your own house is a lot more important than what happens in the White House.
Yep. Well, let's move on to our next topic. We are seeing some power struggle in Iran these days. IRGC Commander Major General Ahmad Vahidi appears to have effectively sidelined the pragmatist officials like Parliament Speaker Muhammad Bagar Ghalibaf. I'm probably butchering that name, but you get it. Reports indicate Vahidi is blocking more flexible negotiating positions, leading to an absolute fracture between the military and the diplomatic team. Plans for a high-level U.S. delegation to meet with Iranian representatives in Pakistan were canceled by the Trump administration on the 25th. Now, I think we canceled our trip to negotiate because Trump still doesn't think that Iran is taking this seriously. And I'm not so sure that they are either. They are just stalling because they know this is bad for Trump if this continues to drag on. And they don't want to let go. They're just trying to hold on as long as they can.
You probably heard that we canceled the trip. We have all the cards. We're not going to spend 15 hours in airplanes all the time going back and forth to be giving a document that was not good enough. And so we'll deal by telephone, and they can call us anytime they want. Again, we have all the cards. They have no military left, practically. They have no leaders left. We don't know who the leaders are.
The U.S. cited Iran's unchanged negotiating positions as the reason for calling off the trip. Intelligence reports suggest that the supreme leader remains incapacitated, leaving the IRGC to dominate decision-making with a maximalist approach that accepts the risk of a renewed war. Shipping through the strait remains at roughly 5% of its pre-conflict volume. The U.S. has reiterated that it will continue to enforce a total blockade on ships that are seeking to reach Iranian ports until a sustainable agreement is reached. The U.S. Treasury Department significantly ramped up pressure on Friday, sanctioning Hangli Petrochemical, which is a major buyer of Iranian oil, and freezing $344 million in cryptocurrency linked to the regime.
Couple of things. Trump likely does have all the cards because he has more time than Iran's economy likely has. You need an economy to fund a warfighting machine. Their machine is basically destroyed, but you could also bankrupt the government. It is just a simple fact that some in the regime would rather die than do anything that looks like surrender. So this could drag on. This, in a way, is Trump trying to set the conditions for the people of Iran to overthrow the regime. Will it work? Time will tell. Trump and the U.S. would be wise to keep the maximum amount of pressure on Iran. Add more sanctions, keep the blockade in place, let the ceasefire end and start shooting again. We do not have boots on the ground, so there is not a high human cost for us. Keep taking out targets and continue to hurt their economy. There's not a ton of military targets left, but when you find them, shoot those too.
Yep, I agree with you. All that said, let's get into some clips. Now, we said on the last episode and again today that there are internal struggles in Iran over power. Here was President Trump speaking on that.
They are fighting with each other. There's tremendous infighting. They're probably fighting for leadership. In many cases, I think they're fighting not to be the leader.
All right, the president with a little joke there. I do think there is significant fighting internally in Iran. The leader who was appointed is incapacitated, So everyone wants to be the one making the decisions. As we did say in the last episode, the IRGC has the guns, so what they want is what most likely will happen.
Now, we've said this many times before as well.
The bottom line, Aisha, is what I think, as long as this regime is in power, you're never going to broker a deal that they're going to give up their nuclear quest for a bomb.
Right.
And as long as that regime's in power, and if they get the bomb, they will certainly use it.
Iran is not negotiating in good faith. Even if they agreed to scrap their nuclear program, wouldn't they just be lying and rebuild it anyway? That's my thought on it.
Oh, absolutely they would. Representative McCall in that clip is spot on. They want the destruction of the U.S. and Israel, and they will see these events as a reason to push ahead with their nuclear weapons program. This will strengthen their resolve if we leave with a bad deal. They will push for the bomb even more to try and prevent something like this from happening again.
Well, I want to shift gears to our last topic here. This is a story out of Utah that I saw the other day, and this is sickening. Take a listen to this.
So a wild and frankly disturbing story out of the state of Utah. A transgender woman and her partner are accused of kidnapping her child, allegedly to go take her to Cuba and get gender reassignment surgery. Madeline Rivera live in Washington with more on this. Maddie, what do we know?
Hey, good morning, Bill. So the case prompted the Justice Department to send a government plane to Cuba to bring the 10-year-old child back to the U.S. Federal officials say the child's biological father, Rose Inessa Ethington, who's now a transgender woman, and her partner took the 10-year-old for what was supposed to be a camping trip in Alberta, Canada, late last month. But they never made it to their hotel or campground. Instead, after crossing the Canadian border, the couple allegedly flew from Vancouver to Mexico City. Then they took another flight from Mexico to Havana. All of this happening, by the way, without the knowledge and permission of the child's biological mother. Court documents don't state whether Rose and her partner were actually planning on getting the child gender-affirming surgery in Cuba, but the FBI says they found notes at the couple's home with instructions from a D.C. mental health therapist to, quote, send the therapist the $10,000 and instructions on gender-affirming medical care for children. Rose's partner had withdrawn that exact amount in late March, per the complaint. Family members of the 10-year-old boy say they were worried Rose had manipulated him to identify as a girl. Rose's brother tells the New York Times she had been pushing for the child to get transition surgery since he was 5 years old. This seemed to be clearly all be coming from Rose, Rose's brother says. It was heartbreaking and hard for me to see. Rose and her partner have been charged with federal international parental kidnapping laws. They'll face the remainder of their court case in Utah. Bill.
Like the video said, Rose Inessa Ethington and her partner, Blue Inessa Ethington, have been charged with international parental kidnapping. Authorities allege the couple told the child's biological mother, who shared custody, might I add, that they were taking the child on a camping trip to Calgary, Canada, starting on March 28th. Why you would want to go camping in Calgary when you lived in Utah and not somewhere else, I don't know. Instead of going to the campground, they end up in Havana. Investigators searching the couple's Utah home found a to-do list detailing plans to learn Spanish and empty their bank accounts. They also found notes related to gender-affirming medical care for children. The 10-year-old and a 3-year-old, who was also with the group, were safely recovered by Cuban authorities and returned to the custody of their biological mother in Utah. The Inessa Ethingtons were deported from Cuba and arraigned in federal court in Richmond, Virginia on Tuesday. They are being transported back to Utah to face federal charges. Look at that, Matt. Cuba deported them.
Would you want someone who kidnaps children and tries to transition them in your country? No, you wouldn't. You know they were up to something when you can't even admit to the other parent what country you will be in. He claims they are camping in Canada, but somehow ends up in Cuba. If the guy said to his ex-wife that he's taking the kid to Cuba, she's almost certainly not allowing it. Shared custody means one parent can't take the kid out of the country without approval from the other. This is a controversial topic, and I have a great idea to protect children. I am all in favor of a law in this country that says if someone comes out as trans, they should lose their parental rights. If you are so messed up in the head that you think you can switch genders, you probably aren't in a position to raise a child.
100% agree. This is sick, honestly. A 10-year-old child. 10-year-olds don't even know how to think for themselves, let alone decide to have gender surgery. This is one mentally sick person trying to infect another. It's sad more than anything else. I can only imagine the rage of the mother. Having her 10-year-old kidnapped by the quote-unquote father has got to be infuriating. I know I can't be the only one thinking this, but this is child endangerment. The number one job of a father is to protect your children, not steal them and run away to mutilate their bodies.
You are right, but the left is fine with it at any age. You have young children at home, Mike. Forget about life-altering decisions. Could your children make themselves lunch tomorrow?
If by lunch you mean a dry bowl of cereal, yes. Anything other than that, probably not.
And what would they do when they ran out of cereal? Well, they'd just go hungry.
They would go through all the snacks in the house. That once the Cheez-Its were gone and the bananas and the apples, everything they could just take right out and start eating right away, it'd be over after that.
Sounds like a nutritious diet.
Not even close. They would probably go to just eating straight sugar, too, if they could.
I could see it. So kids can't make themselves a proper meal, but people want to let young children make life-changing decisions when everyone knows they do not fully understand everything. You have to be 18 years old to get a tattoo, yet we want to let children chop off body parts? Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got to be 21 to buy alcohol, and the effects of alcohol only last a couple hours on you.
Yeah, it's just wild to think that there are people out there who think children should be allowed to completely mutilate their body and destroy their own lives. Because that's what it does. You can find many stories of people who detransitioned and their lives are basically ruined.
Yeah, and think about how much worse it would be for a 10-year-old.
Well, yeah, at that age, you're going through puberty blockers, so it would be devastating.
Yeah, and just like you said, too, they obviously knew they were doing something wrong. Otherwise, why do you have to lie to the mother?
And it makes it sound like they were planning on never bringing the kid back, either. Why do you need to learn a different language and empty the bank accounts if you're returning home?
Yeah, exactly. They had zero intention of ever coming back. They were going to take that child, transition the child, and then never let the child see the mother ever again.
Probably by not returning to the U.S. They most likely stay in Cuba.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel terrible for the child as well as the mother. Now the mother has to undo all the damage the father did.
Yeah, and what do you say when your kid gets a little bit older and really starts understanding this kind of stuff and they're a little bit more exposed to it? How do you explain to your child, whether you're a mother or a father, but in this case, you're the mother, how do you explain to your child that things didn't work out with mommy and daddy because daddy doesn't want to be a daddy anymore? He wants to be a mommy, and then he wants to take you to the doctor and turn you into something else as well. Like, how do you explain that in a way that a child can understand why you would want to do that to them? I understand children's brains aren't fully developed, and there's parents out there that do try to trick their kids into doing this kind of stuff. But kids have such a hard time understanding a lot of basic things. It seems to me almost impossible to truly get a child to understand what you're trying to do to them.
They wouldn't understand it until later in life. It's selfish from the parents. They're pushing their own ideology on their kids.
Yeah, if you want to do like this guy did and transition to a woman when you're in your 40s, whatever, have at it. But don't shove it down my throat. Don't shove it down your kid's throat. Don't shove it down anybody else's throat. Just do whatever you're going to do. You pay, you decide. But as far as anything else, leave everyone else alone.
Yeah, if you want to ruin your own life, go for it. Leave the children alone.
All right, Matt. Well, we are at the end of the show, so of course that means two things. Number one, again, our government shutdown counter, 71 days. Obviously, not much has changed. And number two, it is blind ranking time. Matt, what do you got for me today?
Well, I'm sticking similar to our last theme, but we're going countries, best countries to live in. And for a little fun twist, every country starts with the letter S.
Great.
There are 28 countries possible.
All right, let's do it.
First one up is Spain.
Spain.
Nice weather, very liberal, though.
Yeah, that was
Lots
my
of
thought.
Muslims and Islamists in Spain now. They did just grant citizenship to 500,000 illegal immigrants.
Yeah, I'm afraid of what could be coming, so I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna start with 3.
Number 3. Okay, next up, Sweden.
Sweden.
A country that's like 97% white. You like the cold.
Sweden. Yeah, there's hockey in Sweden. I'm gonna put Sweden at I don't know.
Much colder than Spain.
Yeah, I'm gonna put. I have no idea what else could be coming. So
They all start with S.
I'm gonna put Sweden at 2.
Number 2. Okay. Next one up is the city-state of Singapore. This would be living in a huge city, densely packed. Quite warm in Singapore, too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put that one at 4.
Number 4.
Yeah, 1 and 5 left. Oh, boy.
The next one on the list is Sudan. Not much going on in Sudan right now. Just a little civil war with ethnic cleansing going on. You're not on either side, so both sides might want to take you out.
Sounds like I'm going to have to put that one at 5.
I think you'll be happy with that, because number 1 for you will be Switzerland.
Okay, not bad.
So you went Switzerland 1, Sweden 2, Spain 3, Singapore 4, and Sudan 5.
All right. I like it. Not too bad. Well, everyone, that's it for episode 52 of the Republic Brothers podcast. Before you click away, please hit the subscribe or follow button. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.